Getting fat-shamed by producers, a Rolling Stones diss, and overcoming the death of a child. They were once America's favorite family, but for the Osmonds, life behind the camera was far from cheery. The Osmonds grew up in a strict household, with Meryl Osmond saying in an interview with The Mirror, "My childhood was run like I was in the military, and I was always in the spotlight. Our dad was a military sergeant, and my brain started to churn with it all." Their father, George Osmond, grew up in a less-than-ideal environment, which Donny Osmond feels may have explained his behavior. He told The Guardian, "You have to remember that he was an army sergeant who was raised by an abusive stepfather, and he was kicked out of the house when he was in his teens." Despite this, Donny deeply loved and respected the man who raised him. When George passed in 2007 at the age of 90, Donny said in a statement to Entertainment Tonight, "He was the best man I've ever known." As an adult, Meryl Osmond was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but admits to feeling depressed and anxious for most of his life. He told The Mirror in 2019, "The anxiety started when I was about 10, and by 16, depression had really set in. Even though the fame and the popularity were all going on and it was an exciting time, I saw no hope. I still have bouts of it almost weekly. I can sit and cry all night, which I've done many times." Despite the severity of his anxiety and depression, this is a topic he is open to discussing because he sees how valuable the sharing of his story can be. He does not shy away from the topic in his podcast Sound Advice, which he co-hosts with his son Justin Osmond. Meryl described the podcast to Deseret News, saying, "We basically just talk about things that have been going on in our lives that might be able to help someone." Meryl Osmond is known for being a fantastic performer and was the lead singer of the Osmonds. While on stage, it would have been difficult to gauge that he had been struggling with his self-confidence. But as he admitted in a candid interview for the Yorkshire Post in 2022, "I thought I was fat. I struggled with my weight. For me, I was the least confident of the brothers. Everyone knew I struggled with my weight." The pressure of fame would take its toll, and one of the ways it manifested was with his eating habits. According to the publication, Meryl recalled how after performing he would go to a restaurant but always order less than everyone else, a half portion for himself and never more. He admitted, "I had an eating disorder. I starved myself." Sadly, Meryl is not the only Osmond family member to disclose starving themselves. Marie Osmond was a teenager filming the variety show Donny and Marie with her brother Donny when a producer approached her about her weight. She recalled the experience in an interview with Page 6, saying, "It was on that lot that I was taken out to the back by some head of the studio, and I'm like 5'5" and about 103 pounds. And he basically said, 'You're an embarrassment to your family, you're fat.'" Marie shared more about this time in her life during a Fox News interview in 2019, saying, "I would literally starve myself for 3 days before taping, drinking lemon water and cayenne pepper with maple syrup so I can be skinny." A mother to 8 children, Marie Osmond's 4th child was a son named Michael. Marie has been open about Michael's struggles with depression and substance abuse, and in 2010, at the age of 18, he died by suicide. Though his toxicology report was clean, Osmond believed that drug use still played a role in his death. During an appearance on The Oprah Winfrey Show, she recalled her last conversation with Michael a day before his death, saying, "It was the first time I heard him start to cry and say he was alone, that he had no friends, that he felt despair."
When I heard that, it just brought up so many red flags for me.
Marie admitted that her son also faced bullying before his death, though she ultimately decided not to take action against those involved.
He was bullied very heavily right up until the time that he committed suicide because of his sobriety.
In some ways, the actor felt she could relate to her son because she herself had suffered from postpartum depression. It began after the birth of her 7th child, and she discussed her feelings in her book, Behind the Smile, My Journey Out of Postpartum Depression, writing, "This couldn't be me, collapsing in hysteria, not even recognizing my own wails. This was not me, shaken to the core, sliding into a despair of the deepest kind. Whoever this was, she had no control of her emotions. Whoever this was, I wanted nothing to do with her." Marie Osmond's book, Behind the Smile, included things she had not previously discussed, like the abuse she experienced as a child. She briefly mentioned this in her interview with host Larry King on Larry King Live, though she wouldn't detail who the perpetrator or perpetrators were. Instead, she kept the focus on speaking up about what she endured, saying, I think the most important thing is the statement that, I was definitely abused and it was definitely sexual. You think you are over them, but it is the long-term effects of those types of things that you don't even see. Marie also discussed her postpartum depression and noted how her research had helped her discover something interesting about the condition.
Almost 90-some-odd% of the people who suffer from postpartum depression have had some form of abuse in their life.
At the height of Donny Osmond's fame, he seemingly had it all, but the experience wasn't always positive. The reviews from critics and the comments the media made about him would be tough on even the most seasoned professional. Donny said in an interview with The Mirror, "I'm one of the biggest teeny boppers in the world, and Rolling Stone magazine comes out with an article which says the worst day in rock and roll history was the day Donny Osmond was born. That's the ultimate bullying. It really hurt me." Despite the unkind comments, Donny would prove that article wrong because he went on to have a long and successful career that spanned decades. This includes a residency at the Flamingo in Las Vegas alongside his sister Marie Osmond, and appearances on reality television competitions like Dancing with the Stars and The Masked Singer. Donny Osmond's father, George Osmond, was against the puppy love singer's decision to marry his wife, Debbie Glenn, at such a young age. Donny told The Guardian in 2001 that he was a virgin when he and Debbie married and said in another interview, "By the time I was 19, I knew I was in love and had to do something right for me. When I told my dad, he said, 'Well, there goes your career, but this is ushering in your personal life.'" Despite his father's comments, the star was not dissuaded and would marry Debbie in 1978, and the couple have been together for 4 decades. Donny does acknowledge that his father was right about the impact his marriage would have on his career, but it doesn't sound like he has any regrets, saying, "Debbie is an amazing person to be with. If I hadn't married her, I'd have been a mess."
And she's just a sweet little girl from Billings, Montana. She is the most amazing woman and saved my life, really.
Alan Osmond was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or MS, in 1987. He has 8 sons, one of whom, David Osmond, shares his diagnosis. To educate others on MS, David has spoken about his own health as well as his father's, telling Good News Utah, "In the 90s, he started tripping and falling. He couldn't do the things he wanted to, and it became dangerous for him to be on stage. As his body started to slow down, he struggled.
I couldn't play the trumpet quite as fast, And I also noticed I would trip easy, and there was nothing to trip on."
Despite Alan's challenges, David describes him as, quote, "very positive and a total optimist." Meanwhile, Marie Osmond has praised both Alan and David for their resilience, writing about them in an Instagram post in 2020. "It's a huge struggle, but they never give up. Instead, they use this motto every single day of their lives for a positive remembrance to find strength in their daily challenges. I may have MS, but MS does not have me." Jimmy Osmond is the baby of the Osmond clan, and like his siblings has enjoyed tremendous success. But he too suffered a tragedy when he had a stroke on stage during a December 2018 performance of Peter Pan. The severity of the stroke was initially uncertain, but Jimmy stepped away from the spotlight. At the time, his brother Merrill Osmond gave a statement about Jimmy's health, telling the Press Association, "Jimmy definitely needed space, and he still does. He doesn't want to meet with anybody." Merrill later made an update about his brother in an interview with The Mirror, informing the public that he was continuing to improve and going on to say, "What's cool is he's never had this amount of time before with his family. They're going places and Jimmy runs like crazy now, jogs everywhere, and what he's doing now is painting." In 2020, Jay Osmond revealed he had health complications caused by stress, writing on Facebook, "A couple of months ago, I came really close to a stroke, BP over 200. They said I had a mini stroke. This was brought on by stresses I was under." The musician shared with fans that non-work-related stress was affecting his blood pressure, but he was taking action to keep it under control. In the post-comment section, he responded positively to fans and thanked them for their concern for his well-being. Jay is active on social media and posts on Facebook often. At present, he appears to be in good health and still an active performer. Wayne Osmond was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 1994. He fully recovered and 10 years later shared his story with Coping magazine, recalling that while on tour in Branson, he began experiencing debilitating head pain. He said, "I noticed I couldn't play my saxophone anymore because my head would start throbbing and my knees would fall out from under me when I was on stage. This all began happening within a week." When his schedule freed up, Wayne sought help and it was then that he learned he had ependymoma. He underwent 17 hours of surgery to remove the 2-inch-long tumor behind his cerebellum, and also needed 6 weeks of radiation afterwards, which caused his hair to fall out. Fortunately, Wayne was performing again 6 months after the diagnosis, and he also noted how the experience strengthened his bond with his wife Kathy, whom he called an absolute angel. Aside from all the health issues, the Osmond family also experienced their share of heartache and loss. In 2014, the 7-year-old granddaughter of Jay Osmond's wife died when a moving trailer door fell on her. Jay made a statement on X, formerly Twitter, writing, "Our hearts are heavy with the loss of Karen's granddaughter. How sad it is to lose someone so sweet and so young." In 2019, Merrill Osmond shared an update about the death of his son, who was only 33, writing on Facebook that he had suffered a heart attack in his sleep. His passing is also believed to have affected Marie Osmond, with a source close to the family telling Radar Online. She immediately rushed to her brother Merrill's side to comfort him and his wife Mary. Marie knows the pain of losing a child firsthand. If you or someone you know may be the victim of child abuse, please contact the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4A-CHILD, 1-800-422-4453, or contact their live chat services.